Okay. Today we are going to continue with, lesson 11, page 64 and 65. I think yesterday we talked about, the count and non-count nouns. Also, we talked about the expressions of a quantity like some, any. We talked about would like. Now here we are going to continue with our books. Look at your workbook on page 45. Open your workbook on page 45, please. Okay. 45. Exercise N. Exercise N. Look at the picture. Write about the foods. Again, if you want to ask about the non-countable noun or uncountable noun, we ask with is there. But if you want to ask about, countable nouns, we ask with are there. Look at the example here. Here we have the word juice. We are going to ask about, the juice here. Is there any juice? No, there isn't any juice. Is there any juice? No, there isn't any juice. Pineapple. Have you opened your workbook on page 45, sorry. 45, Shabab.
Yes,
Workbook. Workbook, page 45. Exercise N. Exercise N. Page 45, workbook. Are there any, pineapples? Are there any pineapples? Look here, look at the picture. Yes. Yes, there are some pineapples. Now, we are going to ask about, these things. About meat, about eggs, about, ice cream, sugar. But we have to take in our consideration whether the noun is countable or uncountable. The first, we are going to ask about meat. Who can make the question and the answer according to the picture?
Can I, teacher?
Yes, Uday.
Are they any meat?
Okay, now meat is, is it a countable or an uncountable noun?
Countable.
Are you sure?
Yes.
uncountable.
Uncountable. We cannot say
Is this-
meat.
Yeah, you
Uncountable.
can. There is nothing called meats. Yes.
Yes, so here, if it is uncountable, we have to use what? Is there? Is there any meat? Is there any meat? Read Uday. Is there any meat? Yes, here.
Yes, there is some meat.
Good. Yes, there is some meat. Is there any meat? Yes, there is some meat. Now, what about the second? What about the second? Who can make the question? Who can make the question? Yes. Yusuf, are you here? Abdullah Amin. I think it is very easy to make, the question about, the second. Ashraf, are you here? Ashraf. Ahmed Azam.
Yes, mister. I'm here.
Yes, Ashraf.
Yes, I'm here.
Make a question about, the second, eggs, like the example.
Have you did you make any eggs?
Are there any eggs?
Are there any eggs?
Look here, look at the picture. Yes, there are some eggs. Yes, there are some eggs. Read the question and the answer again, Ashraf.
Are there any eggs? Yes, there are some eggs.
Good. Now, what about the third item here? We have ice cream. Who can make the question? Ahmed Azam, are you here? Abdurrahman Ra'ad.
Can I عاد أجاوب?
Yes, Abdurrahman. Ice cream is uncountable noun, so we use what is there. Yes.
Is there an ice cream?
Good.
No, there isn't.
Good. Is there an ice cream? No, there isn't any ice cream. Good. Is there any ice cream? No, there isn't any ice cream. Now, what about the last, noun? Here we have sugar.
كملها.
Muhammad Taysir, are you here?
Can I try?
Yes, Yanal.
Sugar. Is there any sugar? Yes, there is some sugar.
Yes, there is some sugar. Is there any sugar? Yes, there is some sugar. Good. So this is about, the exercise N on page 45 in your workbook. Okay. This is in your workbook on page 45. Now let's move to our student's book. Go back to your student's book on page 65, sorry. Here we are going to read about, the words connected with recipes. Words connected with recipes. Some words we commonly connected with recipes are, the words which are related to the dish, quantity, ingredients, actions, utensils, cooking method, etc. Look here. These are the words that we related to the dish, appetizer, main, dessert, quantity, half, quarter, 1, 2 cup, etc. Teaspoon, tablespoon, handful, a glove of garlic, etc. Ingredients, the words that we use for ingredients, oil, eggs, the things that we use in cooking, cheese, garlic, herbs. Actions means here the verbs. Add, pour, cut, mix, measure, tear, spread, etc. Utensils. What do you mean by utensils? The tools that we use in cooking, like knives, spoons, whisk, bowl, pans, etc. Cooking method, the way that we cook. Fries, frying, baking, roast, grilling, etc. Now here we have an example for, making pasta with tomato sauce. Who wants to read about, the ingredients and the directions? Who can read? Who can read? Abdullah Amin, are you here? Abdullah? Abdurrahman? Yes, Abdullah. Abdullah, read. Here we have an example about, how can we make a pasta with tomato sauce. Read the ingredients and the directions. 5 cloves garlic. Yes.
5 cloves garlic, 3 cups chopped tomatoes, 5 tablespoons olive oil, salt and pepper to taste, fresh basil to taste, 1 package pasta. Directions. Good. Pasta, cook separately according to package directions. Sauce. First, chop the garlic into tiny pieces, then put the tomatoes, olive oil and garlic in a saucepan with salt and pepper, and cook on moderate to low heat for 20 minutes. After the sauce is thick, remove the pan from the heat, tear fresh basil into pieces and add it to the sauce. Pour the sauce over the pasta.
Good, thank you very much. So this is an example for using, the words which are connected with recipes, quantity words, ingredients, the verbs or the actions or, the cooking method. Just, this is an example. Now here we have other quantifiers that I think we used them before. and we studied about them. You remember when we talked about, many, much, a few, a little. So here we have the nouns, the quantity. If the quantity is big, with countable nouns, we use what? Many. With uncountable nouns, we use much. There are many, let us say, oranges. There is much water. If you want to express about, the quantity, whether it is big or small, we use a lot of. A lot of is used with countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Also, we have another word, which is lots of. A lot of water, a lot of oranges. So a lot of used with both countable nouns and uncountable nouns. If you want to express about, the, let us say, more or big quantity. Now, if you want to talk about small quantities, with countable nouns, we use a few. With uncountable nouns, we use what? A little. A few means what? Not many, but enough. A little means not much, but enough. A few is used with what? With countable nouns. I have, for example, a few tomatoes. I need a few oranges. A little, to show that, small quantities, used with uncountable nouns. I need a little salt, a little sugar. A little or a few have the same meaning, but a few is used with countable nouns, a little is used with what? Uncountable nouns. Is it clear? It means here not many, but enough. Not much, a little means not much, but enough. Look at the examples. Now here enough used with both. I, for example, I don't eat enough fruit. I don't drink enough water. I don't have enough oranges. So enough used with both, with countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Look at the examples. Who can read the first example? Ahmed Taysir, are you here? Ahmed Azzam. Abdurrahman Musa.
Can I read it?
Yes, Abdurrahman. Read, Abdurrahman. Read the example.
No. I eat many slices of pizza.
Good. I eat many slices. So here the word slices is what? Countable. So we use many to show that here we have big quantity. I eat many slices of pizza. Good. Who can read the second example?
Teacher, can I read it?
Yes, Abdurrahman.
I eat many slices of pizza. My brother makes a lot of pancakes.
Good. A lot of. You realize here the word a lot of, it is used with what?
Countable
nouns. Thank you. My mother makes a lot of pancakes. So this is about, the countable nouns. Look here. A lot of, Chantley makes a delicious iced chocolate. A lot of Chantley, Here is what is uncountable noun. The students what? Drink too much coffee. Much here is used with what? Uncountable nouns. Much. Okay. Now here we have a few. As we said before, it is used with countable nouns to show that what? Not many, but enough. We have just a few eggs, but they are enough. A few used with countable nouns. A little juice is good for your body. A little. Little used with what? Uncountable noun. A little juice is good for your body. I eat enough fruit. I don't drink enough water. So you realize here, enough used with both countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Now, how can we differentiate between how many and how much? How many is used with what? Plural countable nouns. If you want to ask, we ask with how many about the plural countable nouns. How much is used with what? With non-count nouns. To ask about uncountable nouns, we use how much. How many tomatoes do you have? How many books do you have? How many, students are there? Look at the examples. Who can read the example? Ahmed Azzam, are you here? Khalid. Uday, read. Read the example.
How many oranges do we need to make juice?
Good. How many oranges do we need to make juice? You realize oranges is what? Countable noun, so we use how many? Read the second example.
Can I read it?
Yes, read.
How many cookies do you want?
Good. How many cookies do you want? Cookies here is, a countable noun.
Countable.
Read the last. Abdurrahman, how many?
How many tomatoes are there in the kitchen?
Good. How many tomatoes are there in the kitchen? Good.
A tomato is countable.
Yes, these nouns are countable, so we use how many. Now, what about the next example? Who can read? Yes. Yanal? Are you here, Yanal? Khalid Majdi, yalla.
How much water do you drink every day?
Good. How much water do you drink every day? So we ask with how much because water is uncountable now. Good. Who can read the next question? Yes. Abdul Aziz, Kamal, are you here? Abdul Aziz Sharif. Abdurrahman Muhsin. Yes.
How much milk do we need to make a cake?
Good, Abdurrahman. How much milk do we need to make a cake? Read the last example.
Can I read, teacher?
Yes, Abdul Aziz.
Yes. How much chocolate sauce would you like?
Good. How much chocolate sauce would you like? How much milk do we need? So you realize here we use how much with what? Uncountable nouns. Okay. Now look here, just we have. Now we want to classify, the sentences or the words according whether these words or phrases or sentences count or uncount, count or non-count nouns. I cannot count. Should we put it here, count or non-count?
Non-count.
Non-count, good. Okay. Singular form, where should we put it? Sharif. Count or non-count?
Count, teacher.
Count. Next, much. Where should we put much? Yes, Shabab. Abdullah Amin.
Teacher, answer.
Yes, Uday. Abdullah. Yes, Abdullah. Much must be, must be here or, count or non-count?
Count.
Non-count. Non-count. Okay. A little. A little.
Teacher.
Yes, Uday. Is it count or non-count?
Non-count.
Non-count, good. I can count. Comes under, count or non-count. I can count. Things you can count here. Count.
Count.
Yes. There are some eggs. Where should we put it? Some eggs. Count or non-count?
Answer.
Yes, we can
Count.
count. Good. How much? Count or non-count? Sharif?
Non-count.
Non-count. Bread.
Non-count.
Bread. We cannot count a bread. We cannot say breads. It's non-count.
Yes,
Good.
I said non-count.
Few. Used with countable nouns or uncountable nouns, if you remember. Used with countable nouns.
Non-countable.
Countable. A few oranges. Some, when we use it with offering. Here. Many. Where should we put many? Count or non-count? Yes, Abdullah Amin.
No, sir.
Many. It comes under count or non-count?
Count.
Yes. Many students, many eggs, many books. Plural form. Where should we put it? Count or non-count? Plural form. Sharif?
Plural form is count.
Oil. Is it countable noun or non-countable noun? It's non-count.
Non-count.
Any questions or negative? Yes, here. Comes with countable and non-countable nouns. How many? Comes here. Is there any juice? Non-count or count?
Non-count.
Yes. Apple. Apples. So it is what? Count.
Countable.
Yes.
Count.
Enough used with both, with countable nouns and uncountable nouns. A lot used with both, with countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Is it clear? Okay, now here we have
Yes.
some words that we use for sequence. If you want to arrange things, if you want to order things, we use some words which are called sequence words. First, then, after that, finally. Look here, first you mix the flour and the eggs, then you add a little butter. After that, you put in a teaspoon of baking powder, etc. Finally, you let it rise. So these are used for sequence, let us say events. Okay, now look at your books on page 65. Page 65, please, in your student's book.
Read.
Yes, Sharif, start. Here we are going to complete the recipe. We are going to use after. Before here, we have to use it 2 times. First, finally, and then also use 2 times. What do you think?
Okay.
Number
Before
one?
you start.
Good. Before you start, check that, you have all the ingredients. What do you think? You can try.
Then.
Good. Then put 3 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3 teaspoons of baking powder into a bowl. Then what else here? What should we put? Maybe what? First, add half a cup of milk, 1 tablespoon of, margarine, and 1 egg to the ingredients in the bowl, and mix them well to make the dough. What do you think here? Number 4 should be? Maybe before or after. Yes, after you have made the dough, let it stand for about 30 minutes. Here, what do you think? Before must be used twice, so it must be what? Before.
Before.
Yes, before you spread the dough, make sure it has raisin enough. Then here must be used twice. Then spread it evenly on the pan using your fingers. And finally, you cover it with what? Cheese and tomato sauce, and let it bake in a very hot oven for about 30 minutes. Who can read, the paragraph again? Who can read? Yes. Yes, yeah, Uday, read.
Before you start, check that you have all the ingredients. Then put 3 cups of flour and teaspoon of salt and 3 teaspoons of baking powder into a bowl. First, add half a cup of milk, 1 tablespoon of margarine, and one egg to the ingredients in the bowl, and mix them well to make the dough. After you have made the dough, let it stand for about 30 minutes. Before you spread the dough, make sure it has risen enough. Then spread it evenly on the pan using your fingers. Finally, you cover it with the cheese and tomato sauce and let it bake in a very hot oven for about 30 minutes. Serve 3 people.
Good, thank you very much. Now, here we have something which we talked about before, the importance of using the article a with a few and a little. When we say a few, it means, not many, but enough. A little with, uncountable nouns means not much, but enough. Without the article, it means, look here, when we say Ali eats a few dates, that means, not many, but enough. But when we say Ali eats few dates, here, Ali eats few means not many and not enough. The same with a little. A little means not much, but enough. Like, little without a means not, let us say, not much and not enough. Okay. Now look at your workbook on page 45. Look at your workbook on page 45. I think we did it yesterday. Look at your workbook. Exercise M, ya shabab. Exercise M. We have meat. Is it countable or uncountable? Non-countable. Banana. Banana. Countable. Right. N or C. N or C. Look at your workbook on page 45. Eggs. Countable. Milk.
Uncountable. Non-countable.
Non-count. Sugar. Also non. Cookies. Countable.
Countable.
Ice cream. Non-countable. Juice. Non-countable. Pineapple is what? Countable. Write them quickly on your books on page 45. Look here, workbook, exercise M. Exercise M in your workbook. Now go to your workbook also on page 46. 46, please. Read each group of words. Cross out the word which doesn't, belong, the old word. Look at the first group. Here we have margarine, sugar, vanilla, spoon, cacao. Which word, doesn't belong to the group of the words? According to your knowledge, maybe. Yes.
Spoon.
Spoon. Yes, good. Spoon it doesn't belong to the group.
Yes, because all of them like you can eat them or like they're powder, except the spoon.
Good. Number 2, oven, bowl, chop, pan, cup. What do you think? Chop. Chop is a verb to cut something. Yes, chop. Just circle it. Number 3, stir, eggs, add, mix, mash. You realize that these are verbs.
Can I answer, teacher?
Eggs. Eggs. Eggs, it is a noun, not a verb. Number 4, half, minutes, quarter, degrees, taste.
Joe?
Yes?
Taste.
Good, taste. Okay, do it quickly in your workbook on page 46. So this is about, exercise O. Now here in exercise P, complete the recipe with a word from exercise O. More than one answer may be possible. Brownies, ingredients, direction. Mix the margarine, sugar, and vanilla in a
pan.
bowl.
Bowl.
Yes. Yes. Here we have more than one answer is possible. Add the eggs and mix well. After that, add the flour, cacao, baking powder, and salt and mix well. Put the mixture in a baking pan and bake it in a hot oven. For 40 to 45 minutes. Do it quickly, please. We will stop here.